awesome is gonna happen. Dahmer's cool stuff. Do good gaming.
Hey guys, what's up? Dahmer Cool Stuff here, and I've got a deck tech for Magic the Gathering. That's right, post-rotation, getting ready for that deck tech. Running Goblins. Thought I was going to go back to Mardu tokens. Apparently I wasn't. I'm liking the Goblins build a little too much, and you'll see what I mean with this first build. There's going to be a second build, I guess, of this one, where it's going to be black-red Goblins using using Zada, the Hedron. I feel is going to be a really potent card for this deck, and it requires some tweaking, but that's a little further down the road, maybe like a week or two after rotation happens. I named this deck Goblins, Goblins, and more Goblins, because that's all it does. All the creatures in there are Goblins, very little burn spells, comparatively speaking, to a red deck, and some weird rogue brewy type of choices that actually made a lot of sense during the last FNM I went to, and kind of had some compliments on it, like, wow, I wouldn't expect that to happen. This is a little modified version of that deck that I took that at FNM, because, well, obviously Stoked Flames is gone, Foundry Street Denizen is gone, a couple other cards are gone as well. So we're going to start with the mana base, and it's quite simple. 20 mountains, that's right, 20 mountains, we're single color, and 2 Rogue's Passages. Got this idea off of another deck when I was watching the live stream from Star City Games. I'll leave the guy's name right up there, and he basically said, you know, in this type of deck, you know, if you mana flood that Rogue's Passage, that's going to get some easy damage in, especially with some of the cards that we use. So we're going to start with the artifacts. I'm running 2 Pyromancer's Goggles. Now this is a little weird rogue brewy type of thing, but I say it simply like this. When it gets out, it's not required by any stretch of the imagination, but getting 2 Wild Slashes for copying. There was a game I was playing where I used the Pyromancer's Goggles to Wild Slash 2 of his creatures on that turn, so it was 2 less things hitting me in the face, because I had a Stoke the Flames waiting for him the next turn, dealing 8 damage on 1 Stoke the Flames. That's all I gotta say. But with Pyromancer's Goggles now, it's Exquisite Firecraft, so that's 8 damage. Wild Slash does 4 damage when you copy it. Dragon Fodder turns from 2 creatures to 4 creatures. Hordeling Outburst turns from 3 creatures to 6 creatures. If it gets out, it gets a little crazy. But that's if it gets out. It's not required, but it's a nice curveball to throw at your opponents to say, hey, you got to think about this card too. Now we're going to go into spells. We're going to start with the burn package. The burn package on this one is very small. It's not required. I'm doing more damage through the Goblins than the burn, but it's still there as a slight creature removal or just that little extra punch to the face to finish off the game. We're going to start with 4 Exquisite Firecrafts, because why not? It's one great burn spell, and we have enough instants and sorcery spells that spell mastery will be easily met. We're also running 4 Wild Slashes, because 1 red for 2 damage to a creature or to the player's face, that's great, especially in the format it is right now, especially considering that there's no lightning strike happening in the format, to at least get rid of smaller creatures that are trying to outrace us in this deck. And we're doing 2 Collateral Damage because, hey, you're going to have enough cannon fodder out there, so to speak, that sacrificing 1 creature for 3 damage isn't too much of a big deal. And also that 3 damage might be the last damage that you need to either punch a person in the face to get that last 3 bits of damage off, or to get rid of the creature that they have that might be roadblocking you, so to speak. For the non-burn package, we're running 4 Hordeling Outburst. That's 3 1/1 Goblin tokens. We're also running 2 Dragon Fodders. That's 2 1/1 Dragon tokens. And the key card in the deck, we are running 4 Break Through the Line. Can't stress how important Break Through the Line is. Not only does it make a creature with power 2 or less unblockable, but it also gives it haste. So if you get your PileDrivers out and you have that 1 mana, use that 1 mana to give it haste, to punch in the face, because it's 2 abilities for 1 mana. The card is simply ridiculous in this style of deck. especially when we get to our creature spells. And on the creature spells, we're running 4 Goblin Glory Chasers. I didn't run it at first, and then I saw it in action, and forget about it. If you get him out turn 1 and turn 2, he goes through, that's 2 damage for a couple of turns. That's going to the opponent's face because he has the menace ability when he gets renowned, meaning he has to be blocked by 2 or more creatures. On slower, control-y type of decks, that's a perfect matchup, a perfect turn 1 for that, because you're going to do a lot of damage to a control deck before they get going. And sadly, with this deck, you really need to get going really fast. You need to get going faster than the rest of the decks in the format. And I know Battle for Zendikar is slowing down the format a little bit, so I'm countering the slowing down, more control-based decks, more, if you want to say lack for a better word, more thought-inducing decks, so to speak, with punch-in-the-face burn, one-trick pony, yes it is, but man, does it perform this one trick really well. 4 Goblin PileDrivers, can't stress it enough. It's got protection from blue, plus whenever it attacks with other goblins, it gets +2/+0 for each goblin attacking. When break through the line goes, forget about it. Games end really, really quick. I've done 16-17 damage on turn 5. I lost that game, but I just wanted to say I did 16-17 damage on turn 5. That's the power of PileDriver and break through the line. Activate that ability in the beginning of the turn so he's unblockable because it's till end of turn, and then swing in with your PileDriver, and then he just gets stack bonuses for each goblin attacking with it. We're running 4 Subterranean Scouts. I did not run this card as well, and then I saw it in action and felt, man, if I don't get the break through the line out, that makes a perfect complement to Goblin Glory Chaser to get him renowned, or get Goblin PileDriver through if I need to attack with it at turn 3 for even if it's just 5 damage, ending the game turn 4, turn 5 is kind of a good feeling when it goes off. I mean, yeah, you need a perfect draw, but still, turn 4, turn 5, game over. Standard format right now, sign me up. And finally, we're running 2 copies of Goblin HeelCutter. He's a latest addition in it. I actually had 2 more burn spells in there. 2 Twin Bolts I was running, but realized I don't have that many creatures, plus Goblin HeelCutter, that's target creature opponent can't block. So if they've got their Siege Rhino out that's just simply devouring things, well, Goblin HeelCutter can just dash in and say, guess what, Siege ain't blocking, or Silumgard ain't blocking, or, you know, your big powerful Buffy guy is not going to be able to block this turn. And just with the synergies on this deck, it's very basically just trying to activate an unblockable ability on PileDriver and getting him through. Using burn as like to get rid of creatures on the board, not so much doing damage to the face. Yes, you can do damage to the face, but you really want PileDriver to PileDrive in, so to speak. It does have other win cons in it as well, you know, with the Pyromancer's goggles and the burn package that we have. Also, just swinging really wide still works, especially in this format. So that's the main deck. Now we're going to go into the sideboard, where there's a couple of funny choices in there. We're running obviously 3 Roast because, let's be real here, Siege Rhino still exists. That's the only reason why this card gets in. Siege Rhino, Siege Rhino, Siege Rhino. I hate Siege Rhino. I hate playing Abzan with Siege Rhino. We're running 3 Impact Tremors. I used to run this in the main deck and felt that it didn't synergize well with PileDriver. And let me explain why. The main deck, its main mission, get PileDriver in. No matter what, make them unblockable, get them through. Second game, though, you can definitely put in an Impact Tremors and fool your opponents pretty crazy. Impact Tremors does a lot of damage, especially if they're playing slow, control-y type of games, or if they're trying to outrace you. You get Impact Tremors turn 2, yeah, you have to sacrifice a turn, so to speak, early turn to get it out, but once you get it out, well, your Dragon Fodders now become burn spells. Your Hordeling Outburst now become burn spells. All your creatures become burn spells, and then they go, wow, that now I have yet another thing to think about. 3 Scab-Clan Bezerkers, the only non-goblin creature in the deck, so to speak. Basically, this is against control games, and if things go south, I needed a way to compete in control games that go past turn 5, turn 6, because you'll notice a weakness with this deck. Once you hit that turn, if you haven't won or be close to winning, you're not going to win. especially against control. So Scab-Clan Bezerker does that just fine. Get him renowned through either Rogue's Passage or Subterranean Scout, and anytime my opponent casts a non-creature spell, which most control decks are going to be playing, they get 2 damage. We're running 2 Mardu Scouts. I like its dash ability, especially turn 2. That's 3 damage if you can get it through. But also in case I need more creatures. If they're playing a lot of End Hostilities, if they're playing a lot of Languishes, I need to figure out how to get more creatures out on the board. And finally, and we're playing 2 copies of Creator's Claws because I might need more damage in the deck. I might need to play a little bit more Bernie, so to speak. So if that happens, great. We got Creator's Claws, and by turn 5, you know, hopefully we've hit our mana drops, and we have excessive mana to either pilot Rogue's Passage or just to pump in a Creator's Claws to get rid of a Siege Rhino, or do that last final bit of damage to the opponent's face. And a tricky card, 2 copies of Magnetic Chasm. All non-flying creatures can't block. Alright, cool. If I've swung wide, so to speak, and I play this card, I'm swinging wide and pretty much winning the game. It's kind of a little bit of a pseudo-win con, and it's more power to me, so to speak. It's definitely something to make the opponent think about, especially if you have to play game 3, because now they're like, oh crap, he's playing Magnetic Chasm, and he's got some more burn spells, and Scab-Clan Bezerker is... what's he gonna do this turn? The Goblin Horde is very fragile, especially this deck, but when it explodes, man. It's a great deck. And the Zendikar version of this, the Battle for Zendikar version of this, is gonna have a little different mana base and a couple different creatures in there, especially with Zada. Zada, I feel, is going to be really, really good. And especially when you add, like, I don't know, Butcher's Glee or Touch of Moonglow to it. In a week or 2, once the format gets a little bit more flattened and evened out, I'll do that deck tech as well, because I am still working on that deck on top of this deck. But this is the deck I've been mainly running for the last few weeks now, and I thought I was going to go back to Mardu tokens, but this deck is too much fun. I can't deny it. I've got Mardu tokens also lined up as well, but I have to figure out what cards are leaving and coming in, and that's a whole nother different story because, well, let's face it, I'm also working on black-green Goblins, but it's just a typical black-green Goblins build with Zendikar's Royal added to the mix, because why not? This is Dahmer's Cool Stuff. As always, do good gaming, and when it comes to Magic the Gathering, may your top deck always be mythic.